Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics.
Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls Christian camp.
Breaking news out of Central Texas in Kerr County. Camp Mystic just released a statement about its campers and counselors.
So as you probably already know, Texas got hit with a massive flood, and as usual, the internet is divided. You've got people saying things like, that's what they get for voting for Donald Trump, like that's some type of karma because they're white Christian children. You've got other people who are actually trying to help, trying to be of support, trying to figure out what we can do for these missing children. People are defending these families from the harassment of a bunch of lunatics online. And apparently, people are so deranged that they can't see outside of their own politics. And they always find a way to circle it back to white racism or white supremacy, even when children are dead or missing. It is completely sick. And what's worse is a lot of people become the very thing that they say that they hate. You say you hate white racists, but you're a black racist. You say you hate white supremacists, but you're a black supremacist. The compassion is gone. The humanity is gone. And the internet is too busy scoring political points to realize that these are children. Somebody's daughter, somebody's sister. These are real families living a nightmare. Now, the flood started when the Guadalupe River rose over 14 feet. And once it crossed that point, it was game over. Water swallowed up everything in its path. Homes, roads, camps, all gone.
And we are getting breaking news out of Central Texas in Kerr County. Camp Mystic just released a statement about its campers and counselors. Let's get right to CNN anchor Pam Brown, who is nearby for the latest. Pam, what are you hearing?
This is the first time Camp Mystic is releasing a statement with a number of deaths. And in this statement, John, Camp Mystic says it is grieving the loss of 27 campers and counselors following the catastrophic flooding on the Guadalupe River. The statement goes on to say our hearts are broken alongside our families that are enduring this unimaginable tragedy. We are praying for them constantly. We have been in communication with local and state authorities who are tirelessly deploying extensive resources to search for our missing girls. We are deeply grateful for the outpouring of support from community, first responders, and officials at every level. We ask for your continued prayers, respect, and privacy for each of our families affected. May the Lord continue to wrap his presence around all of us. 27 young souls, these young campers, John, and young counselors. Remember, these counselors are teenagers.
That's how serious it was. That's how bad it got. This is not the first time something like this has happened in this region. A little over 40 years ago, same river, same region, a group of Christian teenagers was trying to evacuate from a summer camp called Pottle Gold Ranch when their bus got swept away by the floodwaters. 10 of them died as they were trying to get to safety and the river took them away. Let's go ahead and take a look at some coverage from this event in 1987. Take a listen.
When the raging waters of the Guadalupe River near San Antonio engulfed a bus and a van and swept the passengers downstream. More than 40 people were involved, including many children on the bus returning from a Baptist summer camp. At least 2 people are known dead, 8 others are missing after a day of frantic rescue attempts. ABC's Charles Murphy reports.
All morning long, rescue helicopters plucked survivors from trees. Several persons were saved this way. Aerial rescue was the only way at first to get them out because the Guadalupe was on a rampage, muddy and dangerous. One by one, some 30 people, most of them children, got out of the river.
Now here we are over 4 decades later, same river, same outcome, and somehow we've got people trying to blame Donald Trump for this. I get it, you don't like Donald Trump, but what is the point? At what point do we stop being so obsessed with politics and start acting like actual Americans again? This is not about who you voted for. This is about how you show up in the middle of tragedy. And quite frankly, if we can't come together as a country when children are missing, then we are already lost. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I am Carmen, Jaycee. I am not here to sugarcoat anything. I am here to get the truth out. Let's get into it. So Candace Taylor, who is now running for Georgia's 1st congressional district, is now under fire for calling this flood fake. In the middle of a tragedy while families were searching for their daughters, she took to Twitter and posted this. It reads, "Fake weather, fake hurricane, fake flooding, fake, fake, fake." And if that wasn't enough, she doubled down the next day with artificial, unnatural, inorganic, and yes, fake. Now, let's be clear. Was it bad timing? Absolutely. But does bad timing automatically mean she was wrong? Not necessarily, because while everybody else was too busy calling her crazy, they missed what happened just 2 days before the flood when Augustus Dorico, founder of the weather modification company called Rainmaker, publicly admitted that they had done cloud seeding in Texas. Just 2 days before, might I add. Now, if you're unfamiliar, cloud seeding is a real process where chemicals like silver iodide are sprayed into the sky to force rain. It's been used for decades, and it was ironically used just 2 days before. And this isn't just some hobbyist with a balloon and a forecast. Rainmaker received direct funding from Peter Thiel, the billionaire founder of Palantir, a tech company that works with the U.S. intelligence and surveillance systems. So we're not just talking about a theory. We're talking about real people, real influence with real money. Now, Dorico says there's no direct correlation between cloud seeding and the flood. Of course, he says that. Let's go ahead and take a listen to him explain exactly that.
Times you might have seen posts or videos connecting cloud seeding to what is happening in Texas. And then earlier tonight, the CEO of a weather modification company confirmed that planes in Texas did release silver iodide into the atmosphere 2 days before the floods. But he also explained why he says scientifically it does not mean that the two events are connected. Watch this.
We're talking about like sub-centimeter amounts of precipitation, be it in snow or rain from every event, which in aggregate can mean hundreds of acre feet, which is very consequential for farmers and ecosystems, but cannot come close to causing flooding unto itself.
And the timing of it, 2 days before, I mean, you know, again, anybody online that seems to be an expert these days would say, well, no, this is what, you know, started the flood or possibly like supercharged the.
That's a really important point, Gotti, because this cloud seeding, it works within like 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, and then that's it. So that was done 2 days before. So the CEO saying this, other scientific research establishes that cloud seeding isn't going to trigger something like this, certainly not 2 days after they were doing it. They were only up in the air cloud seeding for about 20 minutes because, again, it's targeted to a pretty small area of land, which was not even over where the worst of this flooding was, Gotti. So we're talking 30 minutes to an hour, certainly not 2 days in advance.
But to be honest, it feels like gaslighting because the U.S. government already ran Operation Popeye during the Vietnam War, a real declassified program where they use cloud seeding to intentionally extend monsoons and flood enemy supply lines. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip.
Have you ever heard about Operation Popeye, a military cloud seeding project carried out by the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War? This highly classified program was launched in the late 60s, running from 1967 to 1972. The ambitious objective of this operation? To extend the monsoon season over specific areas of the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Why, one might ask? The U.S. military strategists believed that by softening road surfaces and causing landslides, they could disrupt North Vietnamese military supplies. It was a war tactic, born from the marriage of science and military strategy. The former U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert S. McNamara was fully aware of the potential objections that could be raised by the international scientific community. Nonetheless, he stated in a memo to the president that such objections had not in the past been a barrier to military activities considered to be in the interests of U.S. national security. Operation Popeye, also known under the aliases Project Controlled Weather Popeye, Motor Pool, and Intermediary Compatriot, was conducted from Thailand over Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. The operation was allegedly...
So when someone like Candace Taylor starts connecting dots after confirmed weather manipulation after decades of documented weather welfare, and the internet tries to label it as fake news, that is not skepticism. That's denial. And this isn't just Texas. New Mexico is flooding too, and they passed their own cloud seeding bill in early 2024. So this is not just theoretical. It is legal, is funded, and is happening across state lines. And guess who's not staying silent about it? Marjorie Taylor Greene. She tweeted that she's introducing a federal legislation to ban cloud seeding and geoengineering unless it's made fully transparent to the public. Here's what she posted. It reads, "This is not normal. I want clean air, clean skies, clean rainwater, clean groundwater, and sunshine just like God created it. No person, company, entity, or government should ever be allowed to modify our weather by any means possible." And in her next post, she wrote, I am introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, dispersion of chemicals of substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering. So let's be honest. I'm not saying the flood was 100% fake, and I'm not saying Candace Taylor is some type of prophet either, but she didn't pull this out of thin air. There's a history, there's a pattern, and there's too much silence for it to be all a coincidence. With that said, she definitely could have waited. When people are grieving, when children are still missing, maybe just don't lead with fake. The truth could have waited a few days or a few weeks, or however you wanted to do it, but compassion can't. So obviously this tragedy had to become a political circus because obviously in this country, it wouldn't be right if it wasn't. The moment the news broke that this was a private Christian camp and people saw it was mostly white girls, the internet went into shambles, specifically the black side of the internet, as if they have room to talk. Let's start with Sade Perkins, who decided to take to TikTok instead of showing an ounce of humanity. She blamed it on white people and pushed the lie that this was an all-white school. Amazing. Let's take a listen to her in her own words.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is a all-white, white-only conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going, period. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter. It's not to say that we don't want the girls to be found, whatever girls that are missing or whatever right now, but you best believe, especially in today's political climate, if this were a group of Hispanic girls, especially with them being in East Texas, it should be most likely Hispanic. If this were a group of Hispanic girls out there, this would not be getting this type of coverage that they're getting. No one would give a fuck. And all these white people, the parents of these little girls, would be saying things like they need to be deported, they shouldn't have been here in the first place, and yada, yada, yada. So before y'all come at me, before y'all start leaving hate comments on my page about, oh, these are just kids and they don't know no better, the parents of these children who are choosing, and it is a choice in 2025, it is definitely a freaking choice to go into East goddamn Texas and to make a all-white enclave, exclusionary just for white people, with all the black people in East Texas, with all the Hispanic people in East Texas. Somehow, some way, you have carved out an all whites only enclave in East Texas for your white children. Yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. Once again, this is no shade to the girls. I hope they all get found. But once again, y'all have to understand the climate that we're living in. They want you to have sympathy for these people. They want you to get out of your bed and to come out of your home and to go find these people and to donate your money to go find these people. Meanwhile, they are deporting your family members. Meanwhile, they're setting up concentration camps and prisons for your family members. And I need y'all to keep that in mind before y'all get out there and put on your rain boots and go find these little girls.
What's hilarious about all this is she actually thinks that this is activism, laughing while children are missing. Disgusting. Now, let me be clear. Sade Perkins is a complete idiot. This wasn't some white-only camp. This was a Christian camp that just so happened to be mostly white because the average cost was $4,000 to $6,000. The average American can't afford to send their children there. And quite frankly, black people don't send their children to camps anyways, especially camps that cost that much money. So I don't understand what the problem is. And just for the hell of it, I looked up the camp's application. Not once did it mention race. It did mention a $400 deposit multiple times. So if it was about color, the color is green. What Sade Perkins said was completely disgusting and it is not righteous. And sadly, she is not alone in these thoughts. The next TikToker, let's call her what she is, a hood rat, jumped online to laugh about these girls dying and said it was karma for racism. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
I'm going to say it because y'all scary as fuck and I don't give a damn. Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a fuck. And I said no. Nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for motherfuckers to what? CARE. I said what the fuck I said. I don't give a fuck and minds are here with me. We voted the correct way. You reap what the fuck you sow. Just the night before the flash flood happened, y'all were okay with motherfuckers being stripped away from their motherfucking families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that. Be okay with not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy. Be okay with never seeing them again. Keep that same energy because I'm here for it. I am so here for it. Because I've been reading the comments and the shit y'all be saying. Y'all didn't give a fuck when it was brown people. We sorry that it's white people now, but that's going to happen. This is going to be a repetitive cycle going to happen over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until y'all get tired. Racism cost y'all more than y'all thought.
This is completely demonic. I am not exaggerating. This is pure spiritual rot. Because when death becomes entertainment and children become political pawns, that is not activism. That is possession. These are the same people who claim to be Christians, claim to love God, and then spew this kind of hatred towards white people. It is not justice. It is projection, because deep down, they hate themselves. They hate the degenerate mess that they're raising. Saying that these girls died because of racism is completely illogical, and trying to compare it to something like illegal immigrants, completely un-American. This has nothing to do with illegal immigration. The same immigrants that are draining our resources, much like what happened during Hurricane Helene. FEMA didn't have the funding to help American families because they gave it away to illegal immigrants. But okay, we're just going to act like that didn't happen. And the third TikToker who will have you believe that Donald Trump is the reason for all this, she literally says she doesn't feel bad, not because she lacks information, but because she thinks that the girls deserve it because of who their parents voted for. Take a listen.
As a resident of the state of Texas, you should see the backpedaling, the gaslighting that is happening right now because of all those children and those families, those people who lost their lives in this flood that just happened, okay? And the first thing that they in the comments saying, now is not the time to talk about politics. No, yes, it is. Now is especially the time, because it seems like y'all didn't care when everyone else's families and communities of color were being torn apart. Okay, but now that it hit the white Christians, now it's a problem. And even in the midst of y'all own loss as a community, y'all don't want to acknowledge what we have been seeing for months. The politics are the problem. The politics are the problem. Do you hear us now? Do you hear us now? Okay, and to add insult to injury, there will be no FEMA to restore those areas. And if there is some type of work, it will not be available on the scale that it was prior to them defunding FEMA and them defunding the National Weather Service. That's what got y'all here. Okay, but the only difference is, or whatever, y'all communities never really took that lick because it was always poor whites, if it was the whites. And usually it's not the whites, it's communities of color. But it was neither the poor, okay, in this go round, okay? It was Christian kids at camp. And y'all did this, okay? So while you sending thoughts and prayers to the family members, I need you to reflect on how your poor decisions, on how you guys were so amped on putting a political party into power who had no qualifications whatsoever.
The complete absence of compassion, the spiritual darkness have taken over the Black community. Some of these people are so broken, so bitter, so full of resentment that they don't even care about these children. It is disgusting. But thankfully, Trump's press secretary stepped in and checked the record, not with hysteria, not with petty clapping back, but with facts. Let's take a listen.
Unfortunately, in the wake of this once-in-a-generation natural disaster, we have seen many falsehoods pushed by Democrats such as Senator Chuck Schumer and some members of the media. Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie, and it serves no purpose during this time of national mourning. Here are the facts. In the lead up to this tragic natural disaster, the National Weather Service did its job. Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings. On July 3rd, the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, conducted forecast briefings for emergency management in the morning and issued a flood watch in the early afternoon. Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred. And the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers forecasts for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staff on duty during the storms, despite claims of the contrary. So to any person who has deliberately lied about these facts surrounding this catastrophic event, you should be deeply ashamed. At this time, the administration's focus will be giving the victims and their communities the support they deserve during these recovery efforts in this tragic time.
I really like her. She is really feisty and she always just tell it how it is. But let's not forget, the governor of Texas himself came out and said that Trump has actually been very helpful behind the scenes. You're not going to see the headline trending, but it's real. Let's take a listen.
Also, I've had the opportunity to visit not just with Secretary Miller, but other officials in the Trump administration. And we know that President Trump loves Texas for one. He's deeply concerned about all the families who've been affected. but also knows about the magnitude of the devastation that we're suffering. And so what I'm about to sign now is going to be the first step in a process. This document is a request for a federal disaster declaration coming together to seek the immediate and ongoing help of the federal government.
And even RFK Jr. texted him personally to say his team was working on coordinating direct release efforts and getting families what they need. Let's take a listen to this clip.
While coming over here, I received this text from Secretary Kennedy. It says the following. It says, Governor Abbott, it's Secretary Robert Kennedy. It says, we are set to declare a public health emergency for the Texas Hill Country flash floods. This will make it easier for healthcare and mental health providers from out of state to help both by traveling to the area and by telemedicine. Please let us know where we can be most helpful, which I will let him know.
So while TikTok activists are spewing hatred into the algorithm, real leadership is focusing on helping families in need. And let me be clear, if we can't show compassion when children die or are missing, then we have already lost our souls in this country. And just to be honest, that is not the American way. At the end of the day, this is not about politics. It's not about Trump, RFK, or even Candace Taylor. This is about children dead, missing, and fighting for their lives. This is about families grieving, waiting, and praying for a miracle. So before you go reposting garbage on TikTok, before you hop on Twitter trying to get a clap back off at the expense of dead children, I suggest you take a moment and remember humanity. Because this flood is not just a natural disaster. It revealed a spiritual one, a disaster on compassion, a disaster on character, and a disaster on decency. To all the families who lost someone, I send out my deepest condolences to you. And for those who are still waiting on word, I truly pray that your loved ones are found alive and safe. You are not forgotten. If you made it this far in this episode, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Truth still matters, but without compassion, it is just noise. And I'm sure you guys know we've heard enough noise. I am Carmen Jaycee. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys next time.
Conscious culture, we awaken and we learn. Fire in our spirits, watch the system as it burns. Question every lesson, let the real truth return. We break the mold, and now it's our turn.